Everybody. Welcome to another session of Easy Dharma for the New Normal. As of previous weeks, we will be continuing on Introduction to Buddhism by Geshe Kelsang. And today we're on the part 7, the chapter 7, and today it's the Buddhist way of life. So let's see who's on. Okay, one thing I've discovered is that the browser makes a lot of difference. So I've been using Firefox and I've changed to Chrome and it's a lot faster. So I shouldn't have problems this time. The previous weeks I've been using Firefox and it's been so slow. Yes, see, I see immediately already. So good thing. And I can see myself now. And I see Kelvin, hi. And Jerry. Good evening, everybody. So today we'll be talking about the Buddhist way of life, all right? So everybody have their own perspective and their own idea of what it means to practice Buddhism in our daily lives. So, but today, when we do this reading, we'll be exploring the Buddhist way according to the Lamrim, according to Geshe Kelsang, of course, which follows the Lamrim, which follows what was taught by Kechara Rinpoche and Kechara Rinpoche. So according to the traditional way of practicing the Dharma. All right. Although it's traditional, but the essence have been distilled, and anybody can practice the Dharma. People think that practicing the Dharma is only meant for monks and nuns, or meant for when we only come to the temple, or when we only sit down and do our sadhanas and make our offerings. After that, that's it. Our practice ends there, and then we go and become who we really are, the monsters that we are, and so we have this separation all the time. We have this separation. We compartmentalize our lives. When we go to work, it's work. When we have to deal with our family, it's family. With our friends, we're friends. With strangers, it's strangers. So it never occurred to us that Dharma can cross these boundaries into these aspects of our life, because ultimately we want happiness. Ultimately we want resolution, peace of mind, resolution to our problems, our obstacles, our difficulties. So the best way to deal with this is to incorporate the teachings and understanding and the realizations into our daily lives. Okay, so that's how we're going to practice. And this is what Rinpoche has talked about. And there's I think a teaching called 22 or 23, because in a day it's 24 hours. So Rinpoche just averaged out our sadhana to be an hour, although I don't think anybody here do 1 hour sadhana, right? Do you do 1 hour sadhana? I don't think so. But it's just a reference point. So the thing is, Rinpoche has said that exactly what I just said. We only practice Dharma that 1 hour when we sit in front of the altar, when we offer joss stick, when we offer incense, when we offer tea, food on the altar. We are all very holy. We think of good thoughts. We think of our, all sanctioned beings. We think of our father, our mother, our relatives, and our loved ones, and we are very holy lah. Then the rest, we're not so holy. So that 23 is where Rinpoche is focusing. The whole teaching is focusing on that 23. All right. So, okay. I see a lot more people come on. Mr. Lam, Wei Ting, J.W. Liu. Good evening. Guang Ming, Jillian, Kin Ho, and Shelley. And whoever else I've missed. Some of you didn't say hello to me. Anyway, good evening to all of you guys. Thank you for joining me. And today, as I've said earlier, we're going to read the chapter on the Buddhist way of life. All right, so I think we can sort of begin now. And Andy, good evening. The Buddhist way of life. Although we have taken a human rebirth in this life, this does not mean that we will always be a human being. Until we have thoroughly purified our mind, it is quite possible that after we die, we will be reborn as an animal. as a hungry ghost or as a hell being. However, if we rely sincerely upon Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, we will protect ourselves from the danger of low rebirth and from all other dangers. Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha are called the three jewels because they are very precious. If we realize the danger we are in, develop complete confidence in the power of the three jewels to protect us, and then we make a heartfelt determination to rely upon the three jewels for the rest of our life, at that moment we enter the Buddhist path and become a Buddhist. Once we become a Buddhist, we have the opportunity to accomplish all the spiritual realizations of the Buddhist path. From the realization of relying upon a spiritual guide through the path of no more learning, from the realization of relying on a spiritual guide through to the path of no more learning or Buddhahood. From this, we can see that, wait, let's slow down. I'm like on a train. So basically, it gives us a perspective that we often take for granted. That, we always think that, we only hear about people who remember their previous lives were human before. But actually, there are people who were animals before. There are people who were spirits before. There were rebirths we have taken before. Not just others, ourselves, that we were in hell. Okay, so we take that for granted because we think that just because we are not in that kind of situation, or we are not in that realm, that existence, it seemed like a faraway fairy tale. It seemed like an impossibility because we are so comfortable in this life. In a sense, we're so caught up with our own problems, our own issues. We don't think beyond it. So in Buddhism, we are encouraged to look out and to explore the possibility that we can be in a worse situation. And when we examine that possibility in our mind, at the moment it's just, imagine, because we have no idea what it's like. You have no idea actually what is it like to be an animal, how it means to suffer, always unable to express when you have a headache, when you're in pain, when you're hungry. You just rely on, if you're a pet, you rely on making sounds and all that, and you rely on your masters. If you're fortunate, your masters are very kind to you. If you're not fortunate, then you'll be abused. Or that is if you're fortunate. Animals that are fortunate, taken care by human masters. There are a lot of animals in the wild. It's even scarier because it's fight for survival. So I don't have to go into further detail. You just have to turn on National Geographic and you know what I mean. How one animal eat another, how they procreate, and the moment they are born, some animals, they give birth to a lot of litter because the survival rate is very low. So they have to give birth to a lot because a lot of them will be killed, will be eaten, will be killed, will not survive. So that's life. That's what it is like to be an animal. I mean, that is one level of existence downwards. Downwards meaning the level of suffering. That means down means more suffering. So there's even below. The spirit realm is even worse. The suffering is worse, more intense than animal. The loneliness, the frustration, the attachment. So they are caught in a very, very trapped state. And they are always hungry, they're always thirsty. It is what described in the text. And very, very lonely. And then you have the hell being, which is tormented by suffering, by pain non-stop, which we will never ever understand unless you have been abused or been through a war-torn situation in a country where you're always in danger. All right, so all these thoughts, all these possibilities to be born in those situations is real. You could have been born in those situations, and currently in this life we have created many causes to be born in those situations. What are the causes to be born as an animal? When you have attachment for food, when you have attachment for fun, pleasure, when you have attachment in general, you to the senses, sensory pleasure, you create a cause to be born as an animal. Okay, when you're miserly, when you have a lot of huge attachment as well, to be born as a spirit. When you have a lot of anger, to be born as in this hell realm. So all these are very scary, but the possibility. Some people say, "Oh, but I don't believe in spirit. I don't believe in that I can be reborn as an animal." They're stupid. I'm intelligent, so I don't see the correlation. It doesn't matter. Because even if you're born as a human being, there are places that you have to live like an animal, like in the jungles, like you're being born in a tribe, with the deepest respects to the people who live in the forest. It could be that, or in a war-torn country. Okay, so there's always possibilities, even as a human being, that to live the experience of the three lower realms. But whatever experience as a human being that we can experience, it will be nothing compared to the actual experience in those realms, especially the lower realms, the below animal, because the lower it is, the realm, the more intense the suffering. So those contemplations are not meant to give you an unhealthy or scare you to you are paralyzed with fear or to be morbid or anything. It is meant to give you a sense of appreciation of this life. Okay, before I continue, let me see what Mr. Lam has to say. Pastor, if we have been a human and then reborn in an animal realm, we need tremendous amount of merits to be reborn as human again. So my question is, how is it possible for us to be born as human? Or if we had been an animal before, it is nearly impossible to amass the amount of merits to be born as a human. Okay, it works like this. This is what Rinpoche said. Most of us, he said to a crowd, although we're in a Dharma center and people are superficially practicing the Dharma, or most of people, right? But a lot of them are most likely going to the lower realms, specifically animal, he said. And so the duration of being in the realm depends on the karma. So whatever karma we have amassed will be exhausted. You see, to be born in a place, you need the karma to sustain you in that realm. Whatever existence you are in, there's a certain karma. So that karma to be in that realm, once it's exhausted, you would have to leave that realm. You'll die lah. Basically, once it's exhausted, means you die and you will be reborn. The problem of an animal, being born as an animal, most likely is that when you're born as an animal, you will create more negative karma as an animal. That's the problem. So it's not just one lifetime, it's usually hundreds of lifetimes, tens of hundreds of lifetimes. So you do not want to take rebirth as an animal, not even once, because once you go there, you will create, what do you mean by create negative karma? If, for example, you're born as a lion, or as any animal that eats flesh or eats another animal. So once in order to sustain yourself, you will be eating. You need to eat. So when you eat, you have to kill. In order to live, you have to kill. And each time you kill, you commit more negative karma, which will further, propel you to more negative rebirths in an animal realm, most likely, again and again for hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes, until finally the karma by itself will be finished. There will come a time where it will be finished. And when it's finished, then we surface again as an I rebirth. So it's not one, it's a lot of lifetimes. So that's how it goes. It's not about creating the merit, it's the karma to sustain you in that rebirth. Okay, then because we don't talk about merits now, because when you're in that lifetime, let's say you take it as an animal, in that rebirth, you will not be practicing the Dharma. The only thing that could have possibly helped you to create merits, blessings, rather, not merits, but blessings, imprints, will be if you, let's say you are born as a dog near a stupa, like, like many of the dogs in Kechara Forest Retreat. So inadvertently, they will circumambulate and practitioners will blow mantras on them. So a lot of blessings are planted into them. So those blessings can surface for them to take a positive rebirth. Probably not immediately, but eventually. Okay, so those are very powerful. So if you have a pet, if you have an animal that you care for, so reciting mantras is very, very powerful to bless them. And you can recite mantras to blow on your food. You can recite it to them, and you can also play mantras so that they listen all the time to gain more imprints. And or you can put what Rinpoche does is he put a little Buddha statue suspended like on some, on a table or something, so your pet can go around. Like for Rinpoche, he had a number of schnauzers. They will go around and they'll go near the Buddha statue to be blessed over and over again. So those blessings will be implanted in their mind, so it will surface in future lifetimes. So that's what can be done. But they themselves cannot practice Dharma and accumulate merits. Unlike us, we can, because we can consciously do it, but they cannot. They don't have the intelligence, the faculty to do it by themselves. All right, so the thing is, never wish to be born as an animal. Not just thinking, oh, I'll be born as an animal. Making the wish will bring you there. It's actually your actions. It is not the wish. All right? Because some people, oh, but I wished and I made the wish. Oh no, will I be reborn? No, you won't. It's your actions. It's the karma that you create. All right? Okay, and then so after it talks a little bit about that. And then it goes into the three jewels. So the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. So the Buddha is a fully enlightened being. A fully enlightened being has wisdom, and great compassion. And part of the wisdom has the ability to, is the realization of emptiness. So the realization of emptiness is a realization. It is not an intellectual knowledge. It's not something you read in a book, understand, and you become enlightened. No, it's not. It's a realization based on lifetimes of practice of meditation on selflessness. So what happens is that realization has purified all the karma of the Buddha. So the person became a Buddha, right? So based on that ability, that's why we can rely on an enlightened being to purify our karma. There are many practices in Buddhism that we rely on enlightened beings to purify our karma. And that reliance on an enlightened being is called refuge. And the Buddha said, you can rely on the Buddha, you can rely on the Sangha, and most important is the reliance on the Dharma. The Dharma is the teachings. The Dharma has many meanings. Dharma, actually, people just think, oh, just teachings. It's more than just teachings. It is the practice of the teachings as well. Okay, the living practice of the teachings. So in order for the Dharma to be sustained, practitioners must be practicing as well. It's not just knowledge. It's not words. It's not books. It's not music, Dharma music. It's not Dharma. It's not just sound. It's got to be practiced. It's got to be lived and experienced. Then that's real Dharma. All right. So what happens is when we rely on an enlightened being and his teachings and the what we call the living practice means the lineage. Okay, a lineage of masters, the teachings descending from the masters. And each master is a living practitioner who upholds the teachings. When he upholds means he practiced those teachings, and the master gives the teachings down, and there's a blessing. Because the blessing comes because the master himself is a practitioner. He practiced. He's a living example. Most masters are, either you are a practitioner yourself, but you're not attained. But some masters, like Rinpoche, Tem Rinpoche, is not just a practitioner. He's already attained the teachings. So the teachings become a part of him. Okay, so that's what is very important. So that's why there's a blessing. So when we rely on the three jewels, when we take refuge in the three jewels, the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. The Sangha has many levels. Sangha could be referring to monks and nuns on the lowest level. The higher level are the what you call the Buddha's children, which is the bodhisattvas. So like Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara, and any bodhisattvas. For example, Rinpoche is a bodhisattva. So a bodhisattva is on the path, but is already highly attained towards enlightenment. There are 10 stages, okay, on the bodhisattva path. On the 10th stage, you're just one step away from Buddhahood. Okay, so sorry of all this technicality. I just wanted to share with you a little bit more about refuge and the benefits of when you have real refuge, when we understand the meaning of relying on an enlightened being. On faith, it's not just refuge, it's not just believing in the Buddha that he will bless you. It's not just a belief, it is you understand the benefits deriving from that belief and that confidence and reliance that will alter the way you behave as well. So that's why when you take refuge, there is commitments that you will rely on an enlightened being, that you will make offerings, that you would, you will refrain from the non-virtuous actions. Okay, so when you refrain from those actions, that will make your refuge real. Those actions are really, those negative actions are very, very simple. It's not it's ethical, commitments, which is like not stealing, not killing, and all that. All right. So it's all those is this refuge. Okay, so the Buddhist way is that when we have taken refuge and we have studied and understand the benefits, then it will change the way we live. We will start to turn towards a more virtuous lifestyle versus a lifestyle that is selfish, that is that can be potentially harmful, that can be very materialistic. So we start to shift towards spirituality. Okay, so it's not a process that's overnight, but your mindset, if you have real refuge, will automatically shift. If you have not shifted, then you have not real refuge. Then what happens is when you don't have real refuge, the possibility of big negative karma arising, and at the end of our life, that we take a negative rebirth. Okay, so practice is not a superficial thing. Refuge is not it's not Namo Guru Be and that's it. It comes from you. It comes from your behavior, your preference, the way you exemplify the teachings. So not exemplify, but more like practice the teachings. Attempt to practice the teachings. How do you attempt to practice the teachings? And immediately, of course, none of us are bodhisattvas here. That's for sure. But we start to chip away. If you're an angersome person, you reduce your anger. You first must recognize your anger, if it's anger or your jealousy or whatever faults that you have, and then you chip away or attach. Some of us are laziness, like me with laziness, or great desire, or materialism. Some people are very materialistic, and money, it's a huge thing, which is a lot of people, including myself. So over time we chip away. How do we chip away? I mean, for example, materialism. Easiest one is materialism. I think is start to make offerings. Make offerings on the altar. Over time, you make offerings. Each time, it's chipping away. Each time you make offerings, even just water, which doesn't cost anybody any money, which is a brilliant instruction, advice from Lord Lama Atisha, this Indian master, a long time ago, telling the Tibetans who were stingy, who had nothing, because Tibet was barren as compared to India. So since you have nothing to offer water. That's what Atisha said. Water has so many good qualities. And these qualities, when you offer, will be in reflection of the benefits you get in return. All right? Clarity of mind, subtleness of the taste of water, all will have benefits for you that come back. Okay, let me see. Sorry, I'll just digress. Iman, Pastor David, hi. Some questions, thanks. Number one, oh my God, there's a lot of questions. Let me see, Iman. Two questions. Is it true that we will experience purification sometimes a lot in outer form? Sorry, a lot in the form of outer or inner obstacles when we embark on Dharma practice, particularly at the beginning of our Dharma practice? That's question one. Is it true that we experience obstacles? We experience obstacles all the time, not just when we practice the Dharma. It's not just when we practice the Dharma. It's just that we notice it because we are unsure of Dharma practice. Actually, when we do worldly things, of course, there's obstacles also. Same thing. It's the same. It's just that in Dharma, we start to notice it because we are unsure of the benefits of Dharma, whether, the obstacles that come, whether, maybe it's a bad sign, because we are not sure, we are not educated in a sense of Dharma education. We don't know, we are very new. So the obstacles, then actually, when the obstacles come, it's always a good sign. All right, so it's a good sign because it means that your direction is good. It means that when you overcome the obstacles, a lot more benefit will come your way. You know why you're gaining you are what do you call it, experiencing obstacles? It is because you're fighting your negative karma, because the work that you're doing, the Dharma practice that you're doing, the Dharma learning that you're experiencing, the practices that you're doing are purifying your karma for this life, and it will have effect for this life into your future lives. Very few things that we do in this life, in fact, nothing else, come to think, nothing else in this life will purify something that's in the next life. In fact, we are accumulating more negative karma for our future lives all the time. So for the first time, you're doing something that is actually purifying for this life and the future lives. You're changing the direction of your future lives, in fact. All right, so that's why there are some little initial obstacles. It's a small price to pay compared to how much you get in return. So I usually try not to dwell too much with people on little obstacles like that. I just tell them it's a good, like what Rinpoche said, it's a good sign. It's a good sign that you have obstacles. It is your practice to overcome it and move on. Practice, change, and learn and do more, Okay, that's question one. Question two, do you know whether such purification will also be experienced by our family members or those with strong karmic affinity with us when we are doing our Dharma practice? If that is the case, what can we do for our family members or those with strong karmic affinity with us? I'm not really clear what you're trying to say here. Is it you're saying that when you do Dharma practice, it brings obstacles to your family member? In what sense? I don't understand. I've never heard of such a scenario before. So maybe you would like to clarify. I'm guessing that perhaps is usually what happens is if you're practicing something that's beneficial in a family home, and if your family members are experiencing some obstacles, it's because they are under influence of spirits, one, or yeah, usually it's that, or usually it's because their livelihood is not good. I know that some people experience some bit of purification for the family when they, let's say if their livelihood is butchering, animals, they will experience some obstacles because some purification, but not a lot, because that's what I heard before. So I'm not really clear what you mean by your second question. All right, so usually we are not really purifying their karma. It's just that perhaps what we're doing has a lot of, maybe you're dedicating merits to them and they get some kind of benefit, and so what happens is some kind of protection, so it will purify their karma. Because if their livelihood is very bad, like there are some things that are what's bad livelihood, like killing, butchering restaurants, when they butcher animals, like working in a place where that is like to do with intoxicants and stuff like that, and all sorts of vices. The others are pretty self-explanatory, like gambling and all that. So it really depends, right? So oh, okay, you've clarified here. Iman, thanks, Pastor David. My second question is referring to, for example, some accidents experienced by family members. I don't know if you can connect that though. Because if they're experiencing some obstacle, when they experience obstacle, right, it is not because of your practice. When we experience obstacle, it's not because of it's not because we're doing Dharma. It's because of the purification, because that obstacles, actually we have to experience them anyway, whether we practice the Dharma or we don't practice the Dharma. It's just that when we practice the Dharma, it comes to us faster, and it's already kind of like lightened. So it's partially pure, depending on our level of practice. Most likely, if you're the beginner, then it was very light. So our practice it's very light. It's very it's a practice at the of a beginner. So we will experience some sort of obstacles. So our purification will not be complete. So some will come. And we just say that that's the nature of negative karma. The nature of negative karma is to stop us from practicing the Dharma, because generally all sorts of Dharma practice, whatever Dharma practice we do, is actually will lead us in a direction that will purify all negative karma. So they come on kind of like the energy. Karma is just an energy, so they will come, will well up and try to stop us with creating little obstacles for us. All right. So anyway, let's continue. That's on page 1. This chapter is another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 pages. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 pages, sorry. Okay, from this we can see that there are two main causes of going for refuge in the Three Jewels: realizing the danger we are in, and developing conviction in the power of the Three Jewels to protect us from this danger. To generate the first cause in our mind, we need to become convinced of the possibility of being reborn as an animal, a hungry ghost, or a hell being. We can do this by considering the following reasoning. When we die, our mind has to leave this present body, which is just a temporary abode, and find another body, rather like a bird leaving one nest to fly to another. While our mind has no freedom to remain and no choice about where to go, we are blown to the place of our next rebirth by the winds of our karma. If the karma that ripens at our death time is negative, we will definitely take a lower rebirth. Heavy negative karma causes rebirth in hell. Less negative karma causes rebirth as a hungry ghost, and the least negative karma causes rebirth as an animal. It is very easy to commit heavy negative karma. For example, simply by swatting a mosquito out of anger, we create the cause to be reborn in hell. Throughout this and all our countless previous lives, we have committed many heavy negative actions. Unless we have already purified these actions by practicing sincere confession, their potentialities remain in our mental continuum, or any one of these negative potentialities could ripen when we die. Bearing this in mind, we should think, if I die today, where will I be tomorrow? It is quite possible that I find myself in the animal realm among the hungry ghosts, or in hell. If someone were to call me a stupid cow today, I would find it difficult to bear. But what will I do if I actually become a cow, a pig, or a fish? So what it is telling you, it's giving you the experience, is describing experience of when we die, what happens, and it depends on it depends on our karma that we accumulate throughout our lives. That's why most people who experience near-death experience. Have you heard of people near-death experience? People who died, their heart stopped, and then they resuscitated and they came back. And during the interval, they said the experience of first thing when they're dying, they see their whole life flash before their eyes. So when the whole life is flashing, it's what is the karma is accumulated, and that is when the what they call a throwing karma is created to propel one to the next rebirth. All right. Sometimes if the person has died peacefully, so there's a higher chance for the person to take good rebirth. Higher chance, but not 100% chance, because the mind is a bit calmer. But it depends on how much the person is attached. Because some people, when they die, they are thinking of their family. They're thinking of the house, their property, what's going to happen to it. They're thinking of, they are so, they've some people are just thinking, oh, I left the fire, I left the kettle boiling, and then they're worried. Some people are petty and they just think on small things. And then in our lives, that's why it's very important when we are petty. How do we know we are petty? All we are worried about is small things. And when from small things, we make it very big. So that's not good, because that's a form of attachment onto small things. And when we have attachment to small things, anything that arises that can potentially be a problem, we'll be worried, we'll be frustrated, and it will work up, make us feel, worked up for small things. So pettiness is not good. All right. How do we? Most important is in this part of the chapter is to tell you that the possibility of you being reborn, because it's just a negative thought. And you see, our whole lives are made up of many thoughts. 1 second alone, we have several thoughts, sometimes several thoughts at the same time. Usually one, but sometimes several. And then we have many conflicting thoughts, and every time we are, depending on what happened to us, and then just most of us, in a day, we catch ourselves, where we are happy, we are sad, we are attached, we are worried, we are angry, frustrated, and especially when the situations are bad, like right now, like the COVID, we're angry at the government, we're angry at our family member, we're angry because we are stuck at home, we cannot travel, we are frustrated because we cannot travel. So many things are triggering us all the time. And each time they trigger us, we're creating a mental karma. And that karma can potentially propel you to a rebirth, a negative rebirth. So that's why they say it's potentialities. It's actually just karma. So each action, each thought can propel you. So the possibilities are endless, because we are basically quite uncontrolled in our lives. Most people, we don't know. Of course, we don't know as in we don't know some other person, what they're thinking, what they're feeling. But actually, in their mind, even the most placid, the most calm person we know, a lay person, of course, in their mind is totally the opposite. It's just that sometimes it's just a facade, but in their mind they have a lot of attachments, a lot of worries, a lot of anxiety, and each of them is a karma that can potentially propel. That's what it's trying to say here. So the possibility is tremendous. And this part is just very, very diplomatic. It just stops at telling you will take a negative rebirth. That's for sure. All right. So Rinpoche is very, very direct. Rinpoche said most people would take a negative rebirth, as in most likely an animal. Most people, some quite animal or spirit. Being in hell is a bit more harder unless you're very angersome. So people who are very angersome and who cannot control their temper, that's a very bad thing. It's a very bad sign. Just because you lose your temper and you don't kill, you don't harm people directly, but you lose your temper all the time easily. So it's a very bad sign, because that anger each moment you lose, and you find that as you age, as time goes by, you find your temper more and more uncontrollable. It's a sign. It's a sign that you will take a negative rebirth there. Okay, so anger is something that in Western idea of expression, of dealing with anger management is to express it and vent it out, and hopefully it will go away. But the problem about anger is, according to Buddhism, is you should not express it and make it like a feel-good factor, because you reinforce it. So you have to find the reasons why you're angry and solve that reasons, rather than vent it out. Whenever you feel like you're angry, you just vent it out. Whenever you feel like you're frustrated, you vent it out, and then that's not good, because the actual underlying reason is not solved. All right. Rinpoche said that people who are angersome, okay, this is I found very interesting, I'll never forget. It's because the root cause of it, he said, is because they have not taken responsibility of their lives. And when we're talking of major decisions in their life, they have not taken responsibility, and they've been lackadaisical, or they have avoided responsibility. So the scenario is that the repercussion, the results has come back to them, and they don't like it, and it builds up over time. The guilt, the frustration, and that's how it turned to anger. That's what Rinpoche said. Just to let you know. Okay, let's go on. Next page. We should contemplate this until we generate strong fear of taking rebirth in the lower realms. This fear is the first main cause for going for refuge in the Three Jewels. More reasons establishing the possibility of rebirth in the lower realms can be found in Joyful Path of Good Fortune, which is another book. To develop the main cause for going for refuge, a conviction that Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha have complete power to protect living beings from lower rebirth, we should contemplate as follows. The actual refuge is Dharma. As mentioned earlier, Dharma is Buddha's teachings and our own inner experience of these teachings. It is our Dharma, our own spiritual realizations that directly protect us from taking rebirth in the lower realms. How is this? The cause of lower rebirth is negative actions, which we commit because our mind is under the influence of delusions. By practicing Buddha's teachings, we become familiar with special, virtuous states of mind that are direct opposite of these delusions. As our virtuous minds become more powerful, our delusions naturally become weaker. For example, as our experience of love increases, our hatred decreases. Very good explanation. And as our ability to rejoice in others' good fortune improves, our jealousy diminishes. As our negative minds become weaker, we to take rebirth in the lower realms. That is how our inner experience of Dharma protects us from the danger of lower rebirth. If we train in the more advanced Buddhist practices described later in this book, particularly in the wisdom, realizing emptiness, eventually we will gain a direct experience of ultimate truth, emptiness, and thereby permanently eradicate all our delusions. Once our mind is completely free from delusions, we will be liberated from all suffering forever. Wow. So it tells you directly how Dharma, the ultimate refuge is Dharma. Rinpoche also said the same thing. It's not an ultimate Buddha or Guru ultimately. It is the Dharma itself. But at the moment, because our Dharma is very weak, so we need to rely on the Buddha, we need to rely on the Guru, ultimately the Guru, more than the Buddha, to help us gain a direct experience of Dharma. All right, so Dharma is very important, because the more we practice the Dharma, the more it is not just knowledge. It's very clear here. It says it's the Buddha's teachings and the direct experience of these teachings. So when we practice more, when we let go more of our anger, of our jealousy, of our attachments, the more we let go. The more we let go, our negative mind will let go as well, because it will counter it. It's a direct counter. Okay, when our negative mind, so we will commit less and less negative actions. And as our negative karma decreases, we'll become happier. First sign is we'll become happier. All right, then we, and eventually we'll gain realizations. Realizations will come easier, and our whole mind will shift. All right? Let me know if you have any questions. So our whole mind will shift towards the Dharma. And more importantly, towards the end of our lives, when we have real experience, we have transformed enough. Eventually, all our negative karma will not. We will commit so much less that at the end of our life, it will make a huge difference for our throwing karma, where we will take. If we have not, practice higher practices where you can control already, but if you have not controlled, then we will have less negative karma. Then we will take. Then what happens is the negative karma will be weak. Our good karma, our merits will be strong. And so when we just think of Dorje Shukden, when we pass away, or we just think of our guru, more important is our guru. If you think of our guru, all the good karma merits that we did in the whole life will open. And when it opens, the throwing karma will be positive and we take a good rebirth. So Rinpoche always recommends us, practice the Dharma, do our sadhanas consistently, and be sincere, be loyal to the organization, your Lama, not just, have a picture and that's it. And you call yourself a sincere practitioner of Rinpoche or the Dharma or Kechara, whatever it is. So it has to be reflected in your actions. It has to be reflected in your likes and dislikes and your whole life, your direction in life. So immediately, of course, it's not, Rinpoche or none of the teachers actually say, oh, you should give up everything and, and jump into the jungle and meditate. I mean, in the past, that's how it was. That's how it was recommended. And that's why there's the great tradition of the Mahasiddhas who gave up their life as a householder, as a wife, as a husband, as a businessman and all, and then just become a wandering ascetic, meditating all day, all night. That was in the past. In today's life, what Rinpoche recommends is incorporating our daily lives with Dharma. So over time, when we do more and more, we have to do more and more. The trick is you have to do more, in a sense that we have to keep upgrading. Of course, when we talk of upgrading and doing more, it doesn't mean that we give up our secular completely. But our direction must be clear. Where is our heart? If our heart is totally in business, totally in family, totally in secular, basically, in secular, and Dharma is just a passing thing, then you only get so much benefit. All right? So over time, especially when we're older, most people have this thing, they think that they only practice the Dharma only when they're older, or they only give up everything and do really, really practice Dharma when you're older. But you see, if you don't start now, little by little, you don't build it to then, by the time when the time comes, a lot of obstacles, and you will be overwhelmed. You'll be, in a sense that you will not even be interested to do it. It's always happened like that. That's what Rinpoche has said, and that's what we have witnessed it ourselves. People who say they will do it, they end up not doing. People who end up doing it is people who started right from the beginning. It's just that when they have commitments, then they just have to balance it. We have to balance until when we have total ability, when we are free, when we're retired, then we have to do more and more. Because at the time, especially for people who are at the twilight of our lives, it's important to do more Dharma than secular, more than business. Can you imagine 60, 70 years old still trying to earn 1 million, 2 million, 3 million? Where's the millions going to go? You don't even have time to spend it. So that's the thing. That, when we're older, we have to reprioritize. And what is more important, because we have to have a real look at our life, our lifespan, realistic look. You never know most of the time when we're going to die, for most people, it comes suddenly. A heart attack, you get COVID, choi. But you know what I mean. Okay, so I really feel like running to the jungle now, Kelvin Tan. The jungle is not where you're supposed to go. It is your heart and your practice. A physical place at the beginning, yes, but in the end, the practice is in your mind. So where is your mind? So you can only go so far as to escape from things, but ultimately there is no escape from your mind. So ultimately it's your mind. It's not a physical outer place. But of course, a place like Kechara Forest Retreat is very conducive for beginner practitioners, because it gives you solace, it gives you contemplation, it gives you peace of mind, so that you're able to focus on your practice, on calming yourself and stuff like that. But once you become a little bit more seasoned in your Dharma practice, you cannot rely so much on just outer. You have to practice even where you are right now. You don't rely on going to KFR to practice. You have to practice now. But KFR is more, even for advanced practices, is more where you engage in intense practices like retreats. Okay, so that's what it is. My mind and heart is a jungle law. Sure, ha ha ha. Yes, jungle woman. All right, let's continue. Oh dear, I don't have much time. Sorry, I've been digressing, but I hoped what I've said have benefited you guys. Once our mind, no. Whereas Dharma is the actual refuge, Buddha is the source of all refuge. He is the supreme spiritual guide who shows us the way to attain Dharma realization, who sustains our Dharma practice by bestowing his blessings. The Sangha are supreme spiritual friends who support our Dharma practice. They provide conducive conditions, encourage us in our practice, and set a good example for us to follow. Only the three jewels have the ability to protect living beings from all suffering. If we contemplate these points carefully, we will generate a strong conviction that Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha have complete power to protect living beings from lower rebirth and from all fear and suffering. This conviction is the second main cause of going for refuge. With these two main causes firmly established in our mind, we should pray every day to the three jewels by reciting the following refuge prayer. All Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and holy beings, please protect me and all living beings from the various sufferings, fears, and dangers of samsara, and please bestow your blessings upon our body and mind. In this prayer, Buddhas refer to the Buddha jewel, and Bodhisattvas and holy beings to the Sangha jewel, the assembly of superior beings who have realized ultimate truth directly. When we recite this verse, we imagine that in front of us is the living Buddha Shakyamuni surrounded by the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, like the full moon surrounded by stars. We generate strong conviction that all these holy beings are actually present before us and develop strong faith in them. When we recite the words, please protect me, while concentrating on their meaning, we are familiarizing our mind with renunciation, the wish to release ourselves from all various sufferings, fears, and dangers of samsara. When we recite and all living beings, we are familiarizing our mind with great compassion, the wish to release all living beings from these sufferings, fears, and dangers. When we recite the last line, we are requesting the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and holy beings to bless us so that the realization of renunciation and great compassion will grow within our mind. These realizations are Dharma jewels. In summary, by reciting this verse while contemplating its meaning, we are establishing within our mind the special Dharma jewels of the realizations of renunciation and great compassion by receiving the blessings of the Buddha jewel and the Sangha jewel. This is the real meaning of going for refuge in the three jewels. If we are able to remember this practice when we die, we will definitely be protected from rebirth in the lower realms. Okay, so before I finish, this part is relying on the Buddha, on the three jewels, and it goes on to describe each element of that reliance. All right, so the gist of this chapter of a Buddhist way of life is refuge. Okay, is going for refuge, And in order to go for refuge, you first have to, refuge means reliance, relying on a higher force, on the three jewels. And in Buddhism, we rely on the three jewels because they have overcome samsara, they have overcome all suffering, all delusions, all the problems that plague us all the time, they've overcome it already. So they've reached the end goal. So because they have reached the end goal, they're able to bless us to reach there as well. That's their ability as an enlightened being. So that's why we rely on them, on the Buddha and the Sangha. And the Sangha refers to the Bodhisattvas. All right, the Bodhisattvas is the assembly of Bodhisattva, the beings the enlightened beings that are almost reaching Buddhahood, but chose to remain as Bodhisattvas. So like Manjushri, like Avalokiteshvara, like Dojishukten, we're relying on Dojishukten. He is Sangha jewel for us. All right. So the Buddha is synonymous, is also to combine with our Guru. So basically, it's giving an idea of what real refuge is. And in order to have refuge, first we have to be convinced that there's a chance for us to take rebirth, a negative rebirth. There's a good chance, and we want to avoid it. We are afraid. We are genuinely afraid. And fear in Buddhism is not negative. So don't take it negatively. Some people think, why always like a guilt trip like that? Why always like, that you suffer, you will take a negative rebirth. Why always that? It's because it's a very good motivating factor, and because it's the truth. It's the truth, because of our actions all this time will contribute us towards taking negative rebirth. We've already right now, rut means in a bad situation, we've already experienced all the negative karma we have. Even no matter how privileged you are, no matter how good life seems to be, it can turn around overnight. And for many people, it's a turnaround over and over again. So for some people, materially, it's very comfortable. Everything seems nice on the outside, but inside, their personal lives, it's horrible. It's broken relationships, it's addiction, it's gambling, it's drinking, womanizing. It's so many negative things that obviously would lead you to not a good place, obviously. Although they are wealthy, they are successful, they are, famous. So whatever it is, so my point is that's just an example. My point is to give you an idea that whatever situation you are in, no matter how good it seems at that moment, do not forget that things will turn around anytime. And it doesn't need to turn around like in the sense that we will die. It can turn around immediately in that life, as in we were alive and we just encountered a horrible turnaround in our lives. People pass away, our loved ones pass away, our fortunes turn around, we hit rock bottom, things like that. So that's just manifestations of negative karma. So in order to protect us, refuge is very powerful. Real refuge, real reliance on the three jewels. And in our case, because our karma is so heavy, relying on Buddha Shakyamuni is wonderful, it's great, it's powerful, it's very powerful, the ultimate refuge. But because our karma is so heavy, we need something that is closer to us, Dojishukten. So hence Dojishukten is very powerful. Is even more powerful, sorry to say, than Shakyamuni at this point, because our karma is just that heavy. All right? So let me continue. The foundation of the Buddhist way of life is to go for refuge in the three jewels from the depths of our heart every day, and to keep purely the 12 commitments of going for refuge. These are explained in Appendix 1. The essential meaning of the commitments is that we should have complete faith confidence in three jewels, and live in accordance with the laws of karma, abandoning non-virtuous actions such as killing and stealing, and practicing virtuous actions such as maintaining a compassionate mind towards human beings and animals alike. Anyone who wishes to follow the Buddhist path should become roughly familiar with these 12 commitments. Okay, just to give you an idea, I'll read to you the 12 commitments, all right, of refuge. Okay, they are in point form. Number 1, not to go for refuge to teachers who contradict Buddha's view or to samsaric gods. Number 2, to regard any image of the Buddha as an actual Buddha. Number 3, not to harm others. Number 4, to regard all Dharma scriptures as the actual Dharma jewel. Number 5, not to allow ourselves to be influenced by people who reject Buddhist teachings. Number 6, to regard anyone who person as an actual Sangha jewel. Number 7, to go for refuge to the three jewels again and again, remembering the good qualities and the differences between them. Number 8, to offer the first portion of whatever we eat and drink to the three jewels while remembering their kindness. Ooh, I need to do that. Sorry. Confession time. Number 9, with compassion, always to encourage others to go for refuge. Number 10, to go for refuge at least 3 times during the day and 3 times during the night, remembering the benefits of going for refuge. Number 11, to perform every action with complete trust in the three jewels. Number 12, never to forsake the three jewels even at the cost of our life or as a joke. Never joke about giving up the Dharma. Giving up, never even joke about it, because many times we take a lot of things for granted. Sometimes I do also. I joke little things about here and there, but we should never joke about something as serious as our practice, something as serious as our samaya, our devotion to our guru, to the Dharma, and to Dodishukta. Never take for granted and joke about it. All right. So these are the 12 commitments, and they are quite self-explanatory, I think. Not to harm others, never, not to go to teachers that contradict the Buddhist teachings, and things like that, So, and to live our lives in accordance to karma. That was a good one. So we tend to think that because sometimes we don't know Dharma very much, so we kind of make up a whole philosophy of how we live our life, with others. We treat others as we treat ourselves, and sometimes we are not totally honest with how we treat others, or sometimes we're ignorant. Not so much as we are not honest. Sometimes we're just ignorant, and we inadvertently hurt others. We inadvertently do things that that harm others. So what happens is it's important to be aware of our actions. It is important to be aware of our attachments, because we are actually very attached. Most of our negative karma comes from our attachments, not so much as harming directly, depending on the individual, but some people are harming directly, with our loved ones. We take them for granted, or our colleagues and stuff like that. But more often is our attachment, how we indulge in our attachments all the time, again and again and again, with wild abandonment. And sometimes it's so important, our attachments are so important in our lives, that it's so difficult to let go. And there's no way, in our mind, there's no way we can ever let go. So there are many ways to go about it, to let go of attachments, but it's important to realize it first. Okay? So ultimately, I think that's the key, which is refuge. I think most of you guys watching this will have some sort of refuge in the three jewels, represented by Rinpoche, the Guru, and Dodishukden, or Lama Tsongkhapa/Lama Tsongkhapa, as the Buddha, as the Dharma protector, the enlightened Dharma protector, as the Dharma jewel, the Sangha jewel, the Sangha jewel. All right. So what happens is, in order to make that refuge more effective, then we understand what refuge is. It's the benefit that they can bring us. It's the belief and the practice in our lives of the Dharma. More important, in the Dharma we practice, meaning our awareness of our actions and how it influences people, it affects people. Okay, so you see, if we practice the Dharma sincerely, if we have really, really sincere belief in the Dharma, in the Buddha and in the Sangha, it will influence everything. Whether we directly consciously do it or not. Sometimes it is so automatic that people will start to notice, in a sense of they will see that we have changed. They'll see we have mellowed down. They'll see that we have let go. They'll see that our anger has lessened. They will see that we are nicer, easier to deal with. We're more cooperative. Let's say in a work environment, we're easy to work with, more cooperative. We are less gossipy for some people. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. So more important is understanding what Dharma is and practicing it. So I will not go so much into it right now, because the main emphasis is actually on refuge in this chapter, and the reasons for going for refuge, which is that we can possibly take a negative rebirth. So it's that built on that positive fear, positive fear, because it is real. It is real. We can take a negative rebirth based on our negative actions, which I've done over and over again. So that positive fear becomes a basis for our refuge, because there's a basis of seeking reliance on the three jewels. Sometimes it's not really a negative rebirth. Sometimes it's also for our obstacles in our life and our difficulties. We go to Dodishuten, and in order to guide us, in order to protect us from interferences, from obstacles. And along the way, what happens is, as we practice, sometimes Dodishuten will leave some obstacles for us to deal with, so that we grow, so that real Dharma will grow. Because if Dodishuten is to clear all our obstacles, if he can, in the first place, clear everything depending on our practice, so what happens is, what will make us practice? Seriously, what will make us practice? Real Dharma, real development of realization, real practice, meaning we actually do our sadhanas, we actually, lessen our anger, lessen our attachment. What will motivate us? You think about it. If all our problems are solved immediately tonight, what will motivate you to practice? Is it you, because you're so grateful to Dodishuten that he had solved all your problems, that you will lessen your anger? Not necessarily. That's why sometimes for practitioners later on, Dodishuten will leave some little obstacles and for us to deal with, so that we will grow. Because anyway, the obstacles is not created by Dodishuten, it's created by us. We are the masters of all our obstacles. We always think it's an external thing. It's not an external thing. It's not. That's why it's called karma. Karma is your actions. It's not an external God. It's not Dodishuten. It's not a creator God in the sky putting these obstacles for you as a trial, it's not. It's you yourself. It's what you are going for, your pursuit. And the problems that come from it, it's your choice. It's your decision to go for whatever you're going for that's creating these obstacles. So don't go blame someone else. So instead of placing the blame, understand it. All right? All right. Okay, so I've come to the end, and I see that it's still Kelvin Tan's very cute little comment there. No other questions. And this session is dedicated to Anonymous sponsor, and with the dedication that the global COVID-19 pandemic ends soon. May more sentient beings awaken their innate compassion and wisdom. And also goes to the sponsor of Stacy Sidro, With the dedication, may everyone be happy, have equanimity, be free from misery and attachment, and quickly attain enlightenment. And Lini Nyo, thank you very much. To all sanctioned beings. Oh, that's your dedication. Dedicated to all sanctioned beings to become enlightened, I suppose. All right? And for any of you guys who want to sponsor, thank you very much. Please do. And the money goes back to the organization. It doesn't go into my pocket. And it is for you. It is a cause created by you for the Dharma to grow. So it's merits for you. Okay, so when there's merits for you, then real realizations can emerge from your mind. Thank you very much. And we will do dedication. Let me see. Hide. Oh, no, don't hide. I can't see your comments now. Sheesh. Okay, never mind. I just do dedication. Jaju Central Rinpoche, Mange Banangi Yushe, Keba Yamami Bayang, Golden Go to Pewasho, Tony Tonga Rinpoche, Mange Banangi Yushe, Keba Yamami Bayang, Golden Go to Pewasho. Daso Genes Abagewadi, Tanandroa Gunlanka Bandan, Jebo Jozo Lawson Draba, Damping Porindo, Sa Shesho, Kewa Gundo Yana Lamadan, Jemmy Jonki Pala Long Choshin, Sada Longi on the Rachoni, Doji Changi Goban Yutosho, Gewadi. Yudoda, Lama Sangye Jukuni, Chuachika Malupa de Salagobacho, Chijabo, Songaba, Chusonama Pewala, Gikishamajiwa down to Nimalasho, Dada Shinge Dusundan, Jewish Latini, Gawalos and Drapa, Tampering Vag, Yushi, Nimo Dallas and Tele, Nemico intellection, yes and Tatu Dalapel, Conscious Jingulo, Conscious Odoso, Conscious Tashi, Jazon Lama Kusurapton, Nam Country Jugipada, Los Santa Jomi Samsung, Drumas of Tatu Negus, Gandhi Rawi Coaching the Penanda Malak. Chen Razing 110 Casui, Sharpie City Badu Dan Yuji, Hong Tombing Odro Malupa, Dene Dallas Adoso, Godan Temple Lojana, Keba Suji Shukden Cell. Thank you very much and good night. Next week we'll be on part 2 of Introduction and the Path to Liberation. So what is liberation? Interesting, isn't it? Thank you. Good night.